a very alert and awakened citizenry. So when I address you, I'd keep my opening remarks very brief because this meeting is also looking forward towards an interaction. I'll give interaction a larger space because that's where I think pointed addressing of issues can happen rather than me giving a monologue. I hope that will be all right with you. See, we are at a stage where clearly, as the introduction given by Kamath rightly said, economy from being the 10th largest around 2013-14 has reached the 5th largest despite COVID. Let us not get confused by the narrative which some people would give us, saying, anyway, it is arithmetic. You will have to move upwards. You will grow. You don't need a leadership like Prime Minister Modi. Economic policy as it is will take it. No, not at all. Countries can go up, countries can come down, like many of the developed countries are coming down. So the risk element of a downward, going downward, a downward risk as they call it, is always there. It is never a mathematical, eventuality that you should from 10th to 5th, 5th to 3rd. No. But yet, there is this larger story which I was remotely referring to when I was in a media interaction. Unfortunately, at a time when India is facing a lot of opportunities, as much as, like many other countries, facing a lot of challenges as well, it is the stability factor with which people have realized you want a government to continue its policy. Whether it is taxation policy, whether it is any other policy towards developing the country, encouraging industries, supporting India's own MSMEs, and making sure our agriculture becomes highly productive, there are continuity of policy which each of these sectors want. And it is because that there is a confidence in the voter's mind, the citizen's mind, that what we've seen since 2014, a corruption-free government. Of course, there are a lot more things to do. No one is saying it's all achieved yet. People chose to give a mandate in 2019 and for the third time gave the mandate in 24. As is observed nowadays very much in the social media, globally, there are more than 50 countries which went into election mode this year. Not in more than a few of them, in fact, hardly a few of them had a government come back for the third term post-COVID. Post-COVID, governments, irrespective of all that they did during the COVID phase, have found it difficult to come back. And here are we talking about Prime Minister Modi and his relationship with the people of India, the trust that the people of India repose on him, that he has come back to power and being in public life since 2002, elected positions since 2002. So, if there is got to be anti-incumbency, he wouldn't have even reached here. He's a Prime Minister who shares his vision, takes a lot of input from the people, and also responds actively. So, therefore, taking from the 10th to the 5th and from the 5th to the 3rd is because the people saw continuity under him, stability under him, and a certain predictability under him for policies that he has been chosen to come back for the third time. But in the meanwhile, the challenges are not abating. If COVID was a big challenge, And we came out with our unique solutions, not comparable to the solutions which very many other countries gave. There were advice given to us about print notes and give money in the hands of the people, you would have recovered. We targeted our recovery measures, we targeted our relief measures. And today you see India is the fastest growing last year, this year, and predicted by World Bank and IMF even for the next year. This is not something that we can ignore. I don't want to speak of it as a big achievement. No, it is the effort of all the people of the country. Every citizen worked wanting to come out of the situation which was out of any one of our control. But the war, not one, several wars, the disruptions in the global world trade, the global trade is not really picking up as much as it should pick up. And if trade picks up, you know that your exports will earn revenue. Your own domestic market will become more competitive. So there are challenges. And despite all this, it is because of the leadership and, as I said, predictability of policy, stability of governance, clean governance, that people have chosen to come with the same leadership. And this leadership is not doing it just on a daily basis, it's giving us a direction where we have to go. An immediate direction, a medium-term direction, and a long-term direction. And the long-term direction has been said. And there is a milestone there. Why should it be in 2047 that by which time that we should become developed? 100 years of independence from imperial rule. Should we not give that kind of a stature for the country, at least for the sake of future generations? So a goal has been identified. And how do we achieve that? And for achieving that is the various ways in which we are saying, we'll still put money for public investment for creating infrastructure. Investment, infrastructure, innovation, and inclusivity. The 4 I's with which we shall reach the milepost of a developed country by 2047. So we will put public money so that we have more infrastructure which has not been built in 60 years. And even yesterday, I must give this example before you. I had the entire board of directors of the Asian Infrastructure Investment Bank, AIIB. They were speaking to us about the way in which India is transforming itself. And there are a few of them who've come in 2010, some of them who have come more than once between 2014 and now. And there was one gentleman who had come in 1984 the last time. And the way in which he spoke about India is saying it's unbelievable, the way in which India has transformed itself. And the kind of infrastructure which are available for public to use, visibly seen. And I'm sure many of you all would be traveling to different parts of the world. You see the infrastructure there and you compare it with the infrastructure India is creating for itself today. I'm not even yet speaking about the digital public infrastructure, about which every delegation which comes to India from overseas speaks, saying, how did you all manage this? So, the 4 I's, and I repeat, infrastructure, investment, innovation, and inclusivity. That's how we'll have to move forward so that the economy is constantly kept buoyant. And this year's budget, we very clearly have announced, continuing with the vote on account budget, that the Indian youth need all this support for skilling, for their innovations, for their access to AI. Upskilling will be a priority. And that is why you found that in this budget and even one before, not just the vote on account, but before that as well, whether it is quantum, the quantum mission which was created with money, whether it is bringing together all the scattered resources of Government of India under one head, the National Research Foundation, under the Department of Science and Technology. Now the Anusandhan Kosh, so there is more money given for research and development. I'm standing in coastal Karnataka, which I know values education, which I know has done a very big contribution to India's banking sector. Whoever can forget it? Pioneers, this entire coastal Karnataka belt are full of pioneers. You brought in medical education like never before to India. So education, whether at the primary or scaling it up the higher levels, you are pioneers here. So it is only appropriate that I talk about the Science Foundation, the Anusandhan Kosh, giving enough substance and corpus for them to be able to fund even private research. So we are not talking about four eyes, innovation being one of them, without putting money where it should be put. So if youth have to be given that kind of a support so that they contribute in a big way. And I was happy when our young new MP who you've chosen to represent this area was with me from the airport. When he said, you started this co-workspace in Mangaluru, that seems to be doing well because young people are finding the place good enough for them to go start off with their startup. We should do more such a thing. I'll be happy to join hands with the MP and do more such a thing. This area requires that much and much more. And for every investment, every initiative taken, there's at least 5 times multiplier because the people also very quickly catch on to these things. And I'm very happy to stand here and talk about these sort of things because it matters to this area. So when we are talking about scaling up, and when we are talking about public participation in funding private research, there is money put. And also when we are talking about the youth, because they have skill sets which are very different. And sometimes when we talk with employers, they say they're qualified, not just people from here, but all over the country. They're qualified, but they just don't have that employability because that requires a slightly more different skill sets. So to give that employability skills to people, we are saying we need to have a lot more introduced even when they are doing their final year or year before, whether it is learning a foreign language, whether you want to understand what an employer is expecting you to come up with when you come out of your degree courses. In fact, this year the budget announced 5 different measures to support the youth of this country, and one of which comes under my ministry, the Corporate Affairs Ministry, about which I'll speak for a minute because it captures in total the approach of this government. We are not just going to give some internship and wash our hands off. We are saying for those young people, we of course gave an age band of 21 to 24. For those young people who are unemployable, sorry for using that word, there are quite a few of our young who come out of class 10, class 12, ITIs, diploma holders who still are not finding jobs. What is it that they miss out on? Do they understand what the employer wants? So we started this internship program. Top 500 companies have been asked to open up avenues. Young will come and join them. For 12 months, every month, Government of India will pay them 4,500 rupees. The organization or the company will pay them 500. They'll get 5,000 rupees per month. The first month they go in there, they get a lump sum one-time amount of 6,000 rupees just to know what the employer does in various silos, get exposed to it. And after that, in your CV, you're going to say one of the top 500 gave me an internship opportunity. I'm now fairly aware of what I'm expected to deliver, and therefore I'm much better to get employment. 1 crore India's youth will be reached out in this 5 years so that they will all get that exposure, with government paying their monthly allowance. If this is one side, the other side is the 2 or 3 schemes under the skills ministry where young people are being trained in skills, given exposure to very many qualifications that you need. But even as I say this, in my mind runs this picture of one of the announcements which was also made in the budget, where ITIs, which are state-run, will be given the modern equipments which are required to understand how to learn about artificial intelligence. You go and understand what is AI, what are the skills required by you for that, what do you do with it? If Chat GPT has come from somewhere, can you create a Chat GPT kind of a thing within India? So artificial intelligence based training is also going to be given from the ITIs. You must have read in the papers that 3 top institutions of the country have been declared as institutions of excellence for AI. Other than, of course, working on how to use AI ethically, how to protect your data, how to make sure that unsavory things don't happen, those kind of things are already happening. Other than doing that, only for agriculture-related applications of AI, one of the institutions has been chosen and announced as Institution of Excellence. Another has been chosen only for health and health-related applications. A third one has been chosen for newer cities, urban development. How are we going to make our cities livable? How is AI going to come into use for it? And this is not as if the 3 centers are chosen, they're all somewhere, some work is going to happen, none of us will know about it. It is a kind of hub and spoke. These 3 are chosen. Any institution gets attached to them as spokes in the wheel, and everybody is going to learn from give and take. So we are moving in that kind of a direction with which the youth benefit. India keeps its leadership in terms of digital technologies and also in artificial intelligence, because your digital public infrastructure has opened up avenues for all our youth, whether they are in rural areas, whether they are in urban areas, literate, semi-literate, everybody is using this now. DPI, QR code, tell me even a vegetable vendor doesn't know about it. So India has benefited from it, and we would want to encash on it and invest more in it. So if the direction is in this form, more and more information, more and more getting on the digital footprint. Just one line I will give you on the way in which Prime Ministers measure with a foresight, bringing financial inclusion, Jan Dhan Yojana, and from there DBT, and from there the money saved for the government, and from there more right kind of people getting the entitlements that they should get, the subsidy that should get. Today, the digital footprint that accounts have created for themselves, even a small person's account, how many transactions have happened, what is his base, how much saving is there in his account, have helped him now to access more credit from wherever he wants. The account aggregator process that we started is able to now do the pass-through from a client who has got an account in one bank, but he thinks there's a different bank which can give him more favorable terms for a small loan. The ticket size may be small, but it is important for him. So through the account aggregator, despite us having an account somewhere, he takes credit from somewhere else. And how is it enabled? How is it possible? They're all being made possible through digital methods. With his explicit permission, his KYC is passed on to the newer bank, which he identifies. And they together then decide, yes, we are willing to sanction this ticket loan and in such terms. He immediately becomes eligible without having to run from pillar to post to get his credit. Account in one place, credit from some other place, all of them happening as though seamlessly. As a result, today, availability of credit has actually become easier for small, far-flung businesses. Small I keep using, but they are micro, nano businesses which are benefiting because of these digital measures that we have taken. And countries abroad are now looking at which element or which brick of this entire stack should they take from India, because there are countries which want the whole stack, there are countries which want some elements of it. The scaling up which we have achieved is what surprises them. So it is like this. I can go on to speak about various measures that we're taking, but as I said, I'll be very happy to respond to every one of your questions so that it becomes more pointed discussion rather than a monologue from my side. But it's always a pleasure to come here, always a pleasure to interact with Mangaluru and coastal Karnataka. I've got great memories of this area from my childhood, and I value the inputs that I go back with every time when I come here. The citizens and the people of this area are warm, affectionate, no doubt, but a very enterprising lot. And hats off to you for that. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. We are immensely grateful to you for the inspiring and insightful address. Your words have truly enlightened us and sent a distinguished tone. These words were of great inspiration, and it was an enriching experience hearing from you. Now comes the most awaited moment, question and answer session. So we have received a lot of questions. To be precise, we got more than 300 questions, and we had to select a few of them to discuss this evening with Madam. So I'll be reading out the questions and request Madam Sitharaman ji to address them with her insights. So as I say the question, I'll request the person who had asked the question to stand up. So the first question is from Ravisha Nayak ji. So the question is, what infrastructure enhancements should be prioritized in Mangaluru and Udupi, given their rapid IT sector development? As an MP from Karnataka and a finance minister, would you advocate increased funding to support this growth, including establishing an IIM or IIT in this education-focused district?
Well, I would readily say yes, we need to do it, no doubt. But I've always found it better that you identify what is important for you. Just as the Honorable MP said that youth need more co-work space. You might want an IIT, IIM, that is what is being voiced. I'm sure these are things which you can always pass on, and we'll obviously take it up for consideration. There's no doubt on that.
Thank you, ma'am. The next question is from Shri Lakshman Pai Mundanshi. How does the BJP plan to counter CM Siddharamayya's claims of step-motherly treatment by the central government in GST and IT fund allocations, especially considering these follow Finance Commission recommendations and raise doubts among educated voters?
It's sad, actually the question that you've asked, the last 4 words actually hit the nail on the head. Create confusion among educated voters. It's purely for that. All the claims, and I know I'm sitting in Karnataka and saying this, but I will say it. I said it in Mysore a few days ago. I'll say it here. All the claims about stepmotherly treatment of Karnataka by the center are utterly baseless. And I'm speaking with responsibility. I can keep the figures in my hand and quote number by number by number. No stepmotherly treatment would be an understatement. No state has been given stepmotherly treatment. Compare it with the 10 years of UPA when Congress-led coalition was in the center, and compare it between 2014 to today, 24. In every item, it's not just 3x growth, 4x growth, sometimes it's more than 10% growth. The quantum that has been given to states is being given on time, and total given under each head is far higher than what you received earlier. And I'm not saying it is only for Karnataka. Every state has got much more than what it received between 2004 and 2004 and 14. Between 14 and 24, they've received 10 years to compare with the next 10 years, far higher amount. And clearly, I repeat your word, it is to confuse even the educated voters, and that's where the irony is. The educated voters will have to look at what is being said by the center, by the state, look at the data. Where is the stepmotherly treatment? But no, I'm intending to create a confusion. So, being a responsible chief minister who himself has presented, quite a number of budget himself, 13, 14 budgets I think he's given, and he has said it. So I want to assure the people of Karnataka that as per the recommendation of the Finance Commission, what has to be given has been given, and sometimes even in advance of the time when it has to be given. So no stepmotherly treatment will be an understatement. There's no stepmotherly treatment for any state. And it is only a political attempt to politically stir or muddy the waters. You can be sure of that. If you are interested, I can even send you the data under each head of what has come to Karnataka.
Thank you, ma'am. Next question is from Shri Shriram S. Bhatt. Why were significant funds allocated to Bihar and Andhra Pradesh while states like Kerala and Manipur received less support despite facing developmental challenges? What factors influence this decision, and how does the government plan to address the needs of Kerala and Manipur regarding infrastructure, economic growth, and social development?
I can't see Mr. Bhatt here, but he has asked the question, I'll answer it. Is he here?
Mr. Bhatt, would you please like to stand? Thank you.
Thank you. Please sit down. There is no discrimination to any state. And I don't understand how the calculation showed you that any disproportionate allocation has happened for any state. You've quoted Bihar and Bihar. No, quoted Bihar versus Kerala and Manipur, implying that disproportionately more is being given to Bihar, whereas disproportionately less is being given to Kerala and Manipur. Am I right? Am I right? That's not true at all. I've answered this in the parliament as well. If there are times when in the budget speech a state is mentioned, it doesn't mean I don't give any money for the other states, I give it only to the state on which I took the name. I explained very clearly as to why Bihar will have to get that money, and why Andhra Pradesh, which is the other state I mentioned also, should get the money. for the flood which happens every year in the river Kosi. And every year. And why are we not able to stop it? Because of the given topography of Bihar. Every water which flows from Nepal flows to Bihar, and there is no way in which you stop it unless something is built in Nepal itself to hold the water, excess water. And in that context, discussion between India and Nepal are going on for some considerable time. It will hopefully come to some conclusion. But till then, every year, Kosi flood is a big fear every year for property, livestock, people. So for flood mitigation measures, we openly said we'll have to give something, because in Uttar Pradesh, which is also equally flood prone in the northern Himalayan river context, they were able to build barrages and save Uttar Pradesh from flooding. That is not possible in Bihar, unfortunately, because of the topography being what it is. And therefore, we said we'll have to take care. That's not a disaster 1 year and no disaster next year. Every year it happens. So if that is one answer that I can give you about why Bihar had that mention, Andhra Pradesh had a mention because Polavaram Dam is another which is being built as a national project. And on that, there has been delay after delay. One has to take into cognizance what India's food security will benefit from it. Essentially an agricultural state, Andhra. So it was mentioned. Now, does that mean that we are not doing anything in Manipur or Kerala? Not at all. And this is one other thing on which I'd like to say. Just as that question pertained to the Chief Minister of Karnataka, I'd like to say Kerala also tried muddying the waters by saying stepmotherly treatment for Kerala. Not true at all.
Thank you, ma'am. The next question is from Shri Arvind Suvarna and Shri Shabrinath Anabalagan. I'd like people to please stand. They're the sustainable entrepreneurs from this part of the region. The question is, would the government consider reducing GST rates on recycled paper, currently 12%, and hazardous waste of scrap, currently 18%, to encourage sustainable practices, support a shift from plastic to paper packing, and help organized recyclers compete with the unorganized sector?
Please sit down. See, on the GST, I'm not going to comment item by item. Will we do it for this? Will we not do it for that? There is a group of ministers who are actively working to see which are the items in which the rates have to be brought down, whether it has got to be rationalized, not just for those, but for a whole set of items. There is intense work happening in the council and at the political dispensation level. The ministers are themselves sitting and working. When I say ministers, they are finance ministers from various states. So they will take a call and then come to the council, which consists of all finance ministers. It is a subset which is looking at the intense work. So they'll put the proposal to the council and the council will take a call on. And as it is, not just the GST, but in India as a whole, circular economy, sustainability, avoiding non-biodegradable goods are all priorities. So your concern is well taken. How it will be handled in the council, we'll have to wait and see. Definitely in December, there should be the date must have come out, or in a day or two it will come out. December, there will be a council meeting. At least some progress will be seen in these areas.
Thank you, ma'am. The next question is from a young boy, actually, Rishan. He's in 5th standard. And his question to madam is, what is the one powerful money lesson that you think every student should learn?
Please come.
Rishan, would you like to come to the stage, please? Please come, please come. I'll repeat his question. What is the one powerful money lesson that you think every student should?
I'll hear it from him.
Sure.
Come.
What is the one most powerful money lesson that you think that all children should learn?
What a very touching moment for me this is. Imagine, which class are you in? 5th class. Can I confess something? I wouldn't have thought of this when I was in class 5. How nice. Which school are you in? St. Aloysius Gonsalves School. Very nice. And I want to be curious more. Actually, is there somebody from the financial sector in your house? Father works in a bank. Mother is in the treasury department of the government. How did it come to you? What does your father do? What does your mother do? Mother's a housewife. Father?
Father is a
Bank manager.
businessman.
Okay. Thank you. Come, go sit down. You can sit somewhere. So that one, first of all, I appreciate the parents for having brought up a child who's conscious of what he has to do on the money side of it. You know, financial awareness can start from class 5. And he is able to confidently tell you what his concern is. That's the kind of consciousness our children should have about money. And I'm really very impressed. In an area which gave a lot of banks, for a young mind to think about it doesn't surprise me, but it is so impressive. The one thing which I'm not sure if I'm saying this right. Was it Syndicate Bank, which coming from this region, which had yes, Syndicate Bank is from this region, I know. But they had a one-liner. Pygmy Bank was their invention, but they had a one-liner. Let your first expenditure be saving or something of that kind. Am I attributing to the right bank? I don't know. The first thing our children should know is money you want to spend, you want to buy a gift, you want to buy a lollipop, you want to buy something. Please, before that, put something in your saving. It can be. The piggy bank scheme was essentially Syndicate Bank. But the first thing the child should be taught and told is to handle money and handle money with a certain responsibility. The question itself is full of, infused with responsibility. What is the first lesson I should know about money? And this day and age, and I will tell you a story from the GST Council. And to my surprise, it's not a BJP minister, finance minister from a Congress-ruled state. Not now, 1.5, 2 years ago. He said that he was frightened because at some point in time, his card was given to his grandchild very quickly to sort something out. Children are very savvy. They can quickly handle these sort of things. His grandchild used the card and was able to sort that day's problem for him. But later, he realized other members of the family were also seeking his help to do the same thing, which is very well so long as it was monitored. Among children, they were probably talking, and some of them thought, no harm, because if the father or grandfather has given the card, he is using it, so is my family giving my card, his father's card, and so on. it went suddenly, the bills came so high. And they had to sit and wonder what's happened, who's spending this much money, how the cards have, come up charged with so much. They realized that jocularly, joyfully, a lot of things were happening using the card by the children. Just that one instance when he gave for some help meant that he had the authority to use the card each time. The grandchild didn't have malice in his mind, but he thought he can use it. Dada ne mujhe ek baar diya, so I can handle it. So the rest of them didn't object. But the bill mounted for what? For small games. And he suddenly sat up and said, what have I done to my grandchild? To seek help is one thing. But later the boy thought he was authority enough to use it, but use it for what? For playing games with money in it. And it frightened the person. And after that, he started controlling the use of the card in the house. So earlier days, it was coin, you can put into your piggy bank. It was small amount, you went to the shop nearby, bought something. And our neighborhood also was trustworthy. The shopkeeper would say, hey, your child is coming too frequently, are you giving money? These kind of conversations used to happen. Now, no. It's card or it's QR code. It's easy for us, it's easier for the children. So I would think caution is the word. We need to educate our children, but we also have to make them a lot more responsible. Here's a child who's very responsible to ask it and ask about it in public. But I'm sure all of us have a duty to make sure our children are going to be responsible on this.
Thank you, ma'am. We really appreciate this. The next question is from Mr. K. Akash M. Rao. How is India positioning itself to create a financial ecosystem attractive to foreign companies, replacing China as a manufacturing hub? What impact could the shift of companies like Apple to Southeast Asia have on India's long-term geopolitical and economic standing?
It is very serious an issue that we need to make ourselves a manufacturing hub. And from 2014, Honorable Prime Minister is placing emphasis to make India a manufacturing hub, not just to produce for us, but also to be able to export from here. Various schemes of the government have been shaped and designed for this purpose. Along with the investment, we also want to create jobs. So productivity-linked incentive, employment-linked incentives are all being worked out. Productivity-linked incentives brought us the advantage of electronics and also for mobile manufacturing. And that has really paid off. You're able to see how much we produce today. And 40% of all Apple produced in the world is being produced in India. So those are the ways in which we want to make sure that we give emphasis for production, manufacturing in this industry. The second big example that I will give is about how India, as a big procurer of defense equipments, importer of defense equipments, quite a lot of our foreign exchange used to go for paying for these imports. Today is one of the big producer of defense components, and not only producer, but also big exports of defense equipments are happening from India. It could be large, arms. It can be your BrahMos, but it can also be small components. So I think giving emphasis for defense production, at least 5 years ago, 6 years ago, is now showcasing how it is paying off for us. India is becoming a big producer of defense equipments, and therefore to that extent, the payments that are going out are coming down. MSMEs have benefited because of this defense production, and therefore their prospects of growing and also exporting is improving. So I spoke about the mobile and related manufacturing. I spoke about defense related manufacturing. You cannot miss out how the semiconductor industry is also coming into India. India is becoming a big electronic manufacturing hub. That semiconductor ladder itself has so many different levels of productions. Each level is finding interest in India and investments are happening on that. Other than that, very distinct. There was a time when we were encouraging, and today also we encourage renewable energy, solar energy, wind energy, and so on. For that, we used to import a lot of critical components. And getting solar equipments used to come from our neighbor. Today, India supplies solar equipments to countries outside. And that itself is a big shift from depending on equipments from China. Today, we being the big manufacturer and supplier to the world on quality solar equipments. I underline quality solar equipments. So these are not changes which are happening by the way. Active support through policy is happening, and that is why we are able to build on these capacities. So manufacturing will be our priority.
Thank you, ma'am. The next question is from Shri Vasant Hedle. So if you're here, I request you to stand. How will the economic instability and inflation in neighboring countries like Bangladesh, Sri Lanka, and Pakistan impact India in the long run? What role can India play in fostering stability and strengthening the broader Asian continent amid these challenges?
Repeat the first line. I'll
repeat it again. How will the economic instability and inflation in neighboring countries like Bangladesh, Sri Lanka, and Pakistan impact India in the long run? What role can India play in fostering stability and strengthening the broader Asian continent amid these challenges?
Well, the instability is one thing. Inflation in those countries is another. But India's economy is yet to be integrated completely with these economies. If we had been integrated, greater impact will be there. We are less integrated, and ideally there should be more integration with our neighbors. But instability hitting us is less probable because of this not complete integration. However, for instance, in Bangladesh, there were several of our own investments which had gone there. For instance, textile sector. Because Bangladesh continued to enjoy the GSP preferences, whether with the US or with Europe, many of our textile manufacturers themselves went and invested in Bangladesh, and from there exported and enjoyed the benefit which India no longer enjoys, because we have advanced ourselves as textile manufacturer and exporter. But today, many of them are probably even returning to India and setting up businesses back again. As a result, many of our textile hubs are now buzzing back again because these investments are coming back. So it's a mixed reply. You have prospects by integrating. Sri Lankan economy also has a lot of give and take with us. Energy production, our supplies of food, milk powder, and many such fundamental, primary goods from India going to Sri Lanka are very much an integration question. If we were integrated more, political stability would hit us more. But there is prospect because we are not yet integrated as much. So there is work to be done in our neighborhood.
Thank you, ma'am. Due to the high number of requests that we got from the audience to take one question from the audience who have not put it up in the QR, we'll be opening this to the audience once for one question from the audience. I'd like the volunteers to kindly coordinate and pass the mic.
Namaste, ma'am. how can we influence Latin America, which recently we have been there, especially in Mexico? It's a country which with the terror and whatnot, crime. How do we can influence it? And what could be our northern neighbor and their concubine in the West will tamper it? What is your view on that? That's my personal view. Thank you.
Would you please repeat it?
Oh, sorry. Yes. I'm very bad in communication.
No, I'm not able to grasp because it was quite a very comprehensive picture that you were putting in your question. Please repeat it.
Okay. Very recently, you have been to Mexico. I heard it's a 1 month back or whatever it is, exact date, I don't know. So how can we influence that economy? It's a crime-based economy, best of my knowledge. And they do have oil or whatever it is, that could be the back of my mind or your ministries. And secondly, our northern friend and the concubine on the West can tamper us on our progress in that. And secondly, one more question. The press and media, whatever it is, aiming at Honorable PM, it's hitting on you. How do you react to it? Thank you.
See, I must say, yes, I did go to Mexico, not about 3 weeks ago. Slightly different from what you perceive of what is happening there. They have immensely benefited by the North American Free Trade Area, NAFTA. They are able to export a lot of things because of that free trade agreement they have with the North American countries. And because they are able to export a lot from Mexico, Indian investment in Mexico is also very high, particularly our software industries. The top, let us say 5, 6 top software industries are present there. I in fact went and visited TCS's establishment in Mexico, which are 3 or 4 in 4 different towns, I think. I went to one where they have, after India, the second biggest establishment in Guadalajara. In Mexico, top 5 of our software companies are present and they're doing extremely well. Most of their clients are from North America, meaning Canada, United States of America, to some extent even South American countries. So not just Indian companies, many other companies who have invested in Mexico are doing fine. In fact, Indian companies are not just software. Some pharma companies from India are also there and they're doing well. The nearshoring policy of the United States of America, like with India, they say friend shoring. Get investments going to friendly countries. So when you're talking about China plus one, when US talks about China plus one, they say friend shoring. Go, if you want to come out there, come out and go to friendly countries. It could be Vietnam, it could be India, it could be Indonesia, it could be Mexico. That's your friend shoring. But nearshoring has been happening in Mexico for now more than 20 years. As a result, many Indian investments have gone there and they're doing very well.
Thank you, ma'am. The next question is from a chartered accountant, Shri Abhiram KS. Taxpayers feel burdened by compliance requirements aimed at reducing non-compliance among a few. With more transactions under TDS and TCS in GST and income tax, can taxpayers expect fair treatment and not be penalized for others' mistakes?
Of course you can expect. Fair treatment is something which is your right. And we'll be working towards it. Where it is unfair, I'll certainly, at my level, get involved to sort it out. And everywhere I go around to talk with income tax field formations, or when I meet up with GST officials, any attempt at unfair treatment which has come to my notice, I pull them up severely. And I also will have to say, if there are unintended harassment, a few may be intended harassment, but I deal with both of them equally to make sure harassment will not happen. And I will respond to anybody who tells me, sorry, this is what has happened here, will you please take it up? The intention of Prime Minister Modi in having brought in faceless assessment and faceless appeal in direct tax, which is income tax, was this. And in GST too, we are slowly telling all the field formations to make sure that the work which the government is doing to decriminalize and make sure that simple worded rules and frequently asked questions are posted so that people know what is expected of them, because we go on trust-based. PM often says, I trust citizens, so our rules should speak for it. So we'll go on that route. But I welcome if you have anything in particular to let me know. Without, of course, any worries of confidentiality, I will handle it. Our intention is not to make it difficult for taxpayers. If there is any harassment, I appeal to every one of you. Do let me know. I'll take the responsibility to sort it out.
Thank you, ma'am. The next question is from Dr. Shiva Kiran, co-chair for Startup 20. The question is, what steps is the government considering to address governance and leadership challenges faced by startups, including unicorns, that have led to declines in valuation and investor confidence? How does your ministry plan to strengthen governance practices within the startup sector of India?
Well, the Department of Internal Trade and Investment Policy, DPIIT, deals with it. They are the ones who categorize startups as startups. They are the ones who look into every governance reform that has to be brought in. If there is any fiscal implication, we certainly come in with an open mind and help out. But in terms of valuation, if there's something that you want to tell me, which I need to take it up, I'll certainly take it up. Do send me your views and I'll take it up from the ministry and also engage with the DPIIT.
Thank you, ma'am. The next question is by Purvik Shetty. Why India is facing the poor credit rating despite having the fastest growth economy, and what are the steps taken to overcome the same?
Poor rating meaning?
I would request this person to please stand as well. Mr. Purvik Shetty. Mr. Purvik Shetty.
Is there a mic being given to him?
I request the volunteer to kindly take the mic forward. Yeah, thank you.
Hello. Namaste, ma'am. Ma'am, despite of being the fastest growing economy, India is facing like a poor credit crisis on like bonds. So, what are the steps India is taking?
You mean the credit rating by the agencies about India? Is that what you're talking about?
Yeah, overall.
Overall. Well, with the credit rating agencies, we engage with them to, please sit down, engage with them to give the details about our macroeconomic fundamentals as to how the system works and so on. So we present our case and we expect them to take on board the views that we've expressed. And that's a continuing exercise.
Is there any certain parameters that you can quote?
Maybe not here. I can always send it to you sometime later.
Thank you.
Thank you. The next question is from a retired banker, Mr. Girish Chandagiri. With India's aging population set to increase significantly by 2050, what measures could the government introduce to engage and re-employ senior citizens in the public sector, similar to initiatives by private companies?
Engage and re-employ, you mean? Where is the person who asked the
I'd
question?
request Mr. Garish Chandagiri, if is here, to kindly stand.
He's not here.
We'll be going to the next question then. This question is from Mr. Abhishek Krishna sir, that in regard to the southern coastal Karnataka and the investments being made in this sector in respect to education and IT, how does we contributing to the whole of the country's economy and its growth to become the world's third largest economy?
IT,
Like the IT sector and the education
the
and investment.
services sector is a big contributor to the GDP as it is. India's GDP derives, if I'm right, more than 60% contribution from the IT and services sector. So that contribution is a very significant contribution and largely organically done, not pushed by the government. I want to credit the IT sector and its growth. Government came in a bit later, but kept supporting the industry, but the industry grew exponentially, understanding the requirements of the global markets. And that is why it has reached a stage of 60% or more contribution to India's GDP. And I understand, and the situation and the global need for greater services will sustain that momentum even in the future.
Thank you, ma'am. So now we are here with the last question, and even I'm intrigued to hear the answer to this one. This question is from Ms. Melissa Deepthi Fernandez. The question is, you have achieved remarkable success in your career, from your academic background to holding one of the highest offices in the Indian government. Could you share the key factors that contributed to your success? And what advice would you give to the students, especially those aspiring to pursue careers in public service, economics, or policy making? How can they equip themselves with the skills and mindset necessary to excel in their chosen fields?
Oh, thank you. Please sit down. But my own assessment about my performance may not be right. Well, of course, there is immense possibility. And I'm glad you're looking at, moving in that kind of a direction. Believe in yourself, be confident. And I normally have not spoken gender, but I will say, you shouldn't get discouraged by, the demands on you to be 3 times more productive than a man equal position. These are normal things. I think we should just keep going and believing in what you're doing. But of course, two or three virtues are, you should be true to yourself, you should be honest, and you shouldn't give any minimum chance for people to pick up on, you could have done better. Each time your benchmark is yours. Keep improving on your own. Needn't worry about comparing yourself with anybody else, but must be a team player.
Thank you, ma'am. So on the request of Shri Vasudev Kamaji, we'll take this last question from the audience.
So first of all, let me congratulate you, madam, for the Ayushman Bharat. We brought out that scheme for 70 years and above without any precondition. Congratulations. Regarding second thing, we have concluded that 12th bipartite settlement for bankers recently. I worked for the Union Bank of India. I retired as AGM after putting 38 years of service. Since the recently concluded 12th bipartite settlement, during my entire tenure, it never happened without going on strike. The bipartite settlement never taken place, either after expiry of the 20 months, 12 months, 15 months like that. This has happened recently without any strike. Thirdly, the pension updation. It is a very frustrating, the senior citizens. They never that happened in the history, even 25 years of banking service. pension has not been updated. We have been pressurizing the government, we have been pressurizing the IBA, but nothing is happening. And there are a number of court cases. Supreme Court, there is one Singla case is there pending. It has not come up for hearing. It is almost 8 years now. He is no more. And people are agitated. Senior citizens are very frustrated that they cannot express their feelings. And thirdly, the medical insurance, group insurance implemented by IBA and the bankers. Earlier, the scheme was group insurance was for only one group insurance was issued to the existing as well as the retirees. Now, because the insurance premium was going up, it was started with 17,000, 4 lakh base policy plus top up, 5 lakhs. It was 1 lakh 1,000 rupees. Unbelievable. 2-3 months pension will go away for paying pension, for getting the insurance. This year, what they have done is, they taken up with the IBA and the insurance company, they clubbed the one policy for the existing as well as the retirees. The premium has come down to 40%, but they made it 4 lakh base policy, then 5 lakh top up policy. For 5 lakhs and 40% premium has come down because of the clubbing of the single policy. But the thing is, the top up, it has become costly. We are paying what we were paying last year, higher than that. What is this happening? I don't know. Thirdly,
thank you.
For the senior citizens, railway concession was given up to the corona time. Now it is being withdrawn. So the concern is really 8 lakh retired bank employees retired bank employees are there. They're all frustrated, madam. This is for your kind information.
Thank you. So it was really an amazing session today. I hope everyone really interacted and it was an enriching experience. I am extremely grateful to Madam for answering all the questions. It was really an enriching experience for all of us. It was indeed a wonderful evening, ladies and gentlemen, full of illumination, knowledge, economics, a lot of interaction with the Honorable Minister. But now, as we come to the end of the session, I take this honor to invite Dr. Abhishek Krishna